Thank you so much for the really kind introduction. At the outset, I really need to thank Professor Ramachandran and Professor Habibi for giving me, this opportunity to visit Gujarat for the first time. It's surprising. I lived in India for 23 years before I moved to Canada, and I'd never been to Gujarat, and this was a great opportunity for me to come in and see and feel the hospitality of the people of Gujarat. I'm truly amazed, and thank you very much. First and foremost, I'm very, very happy that the university is organizing such a fantastic symposia. And I've been to a number of meetings in India and all over the world, and most often it's very focused on your research topic. And it could be an endocrinology meeting or a reproductive biology meeting. But this is what I truly like about this meeting is it's truly interdisciplinary. And for instance, I'm a molecular biologist / physiologist. I use fish as a model. And we look at a number of chemicals in the environment and how those chemicals affect functioning of animals. And what I like about this meeting here is now I can meet people with different backgrounds. And you have engineers, you have social scientists, and we are here for a common goal. And the common goal is trying to understand what's happening to the environment, what's going out into the environment, how is that affecting us and the animals living in the environment, and can we find solutions to that? And I think that's the goal of this meeting as far as I see it. And I think the university has done a commendable job of organizing such a meeting, bringing people from all over the world to talk about this sort of a common problem that we all face, not just for us, but for future generations to come. And to put things in perspective, I work with pharmaceuticals in the environment. I don't know how many people here are familiar with that. Any drug we take essentially goes down the drain into the water. And you have to realize these drugs are designer drugs. When we take antidepressants, it's made specifically for a certain function in our body. We have no idea what that's doing to the animals out in the environment. And that's one of the goals of my research is trying to understand these, what we call as emerging contaminants, pharmaceuticals, personal care products, all this goes into the water and has effects on non-target animals. It was not designed for fish or frogs, and we are seeing effects. And that's one big concern that we need to be wary of in the environment, in our rivers and in lakes, et cetera, et cetera. The other important, in my opinion, is the fact that effects can be passed on from generation to generation. That's a big area of research, the transgenerational effects. And you may not have seen the chemical or been exposed to the chemical, your grandparents would have been, and you still feel the effect because of that. And that's a huge area of research, and the mechanisms are still unclear. Epigenetics seem to be the front runner, and it's got nothing to do with the changes in DNA, but it's changes in the methylation and acetylation pathways that brings about these changes. And these effects are passed on from generation to generation. So this is a huge concern for toxicologists. You can imagine, if you are a toxicologist trying to develop a risk assessment, how are you going to assess a risk associated with your father or your grandfather being exposed? So that's a big environmental challenge currently. Anyway, so I'm not going like Professor Habibi and Professor Ramachandran said, we all know what the problem is, and as a faculty member, I can go on and on and on, and that's not my objective here. So I'll limit my talk, but suffice it to say, this meeting seemed to bring everybody together. There are people doing mechanistic work, there are people doing field work, looking at risk assessment, and there are people putting things together, people informing the regulatory agencies. So as students here, I think you are really in a position where you can interact with these so-called experts or people of knowledge and gather information and can lead you to new paths and which you may not have thought about before. Anyway, with those few words, I think I'll stop my, as my students always say, I tend to diverge and blabber a lot. So I would, rather than doing that, I would thank everybody. I would thank the university and the dignitaries here and giving me the opportunity to welcome and be part of this group. And I especially let all the students know that it's important that you interact with people here and maybe it'll be a career change, a path-changing decision for you. And it's a fantastic opportunity where, different fields come together, and the goal is very clear. It's environmental pollution. It is an issue. We need to find a solution so that it's sustainable and it's long-lasting. Thank you so much.